discussing matters of peace tonight. Now, taking us through this conversation is none other than Benjamin Wakilo. Thank you, sir, for your time. Youth Leader and Programs Officer at Young Women's Christian Association, Kenya. Yeah. So now, yesterday was the International Day of Peace. Yeah. And 25 years since we actually declared, the UN General Assembly declared, 21st September, that Day of Peace.
Sure.
Now, peace has been defined as not just the absence of arms, but also having policies that support peace. That said, are we a peaceful country as Kenya?
Thank you, Regina, for having me, and I appreciate for that question. It's really a complex question. I won't give it 10 over 10, but yes, we are. But the no part is that we have other underlying issues that might erupt, and if we don't work on them, we might not have a peaceful country.
Now, let's tackle those underlying issues. From where you sit, you've said it's not a yes or no, are we peaceful or not? Yeah. But then there are other issues that may or may not affect our current status.
Yeah.
So what are these issues?
Maybe I'll take you back. For the few months, we had a very rough time with the Gen Z protest. The reason why we had that is because of those underlying issues. One of them being some people feel like they are excluded. We have a high number of young people who are not employed. We have politicians who are not taking care of the needs that are tabled before them. We have corrupt people in the offices. So in our context as Kenya, those are some of the underlying issues that might escalate if we don't take care of them as early as today or maybe henceforth. We might have a bad time as a country.
Since you've put it out like that, Benjamin, then what, other than the obvious that you have already stated, have we exhausted other alternatives of dispute resolution as it is, as from a state point of view, an individual or rather interpersonal level? Are we taking care of others, or now are we in a point where everybody's on the streets, so to speak? Have we exhausted these alternatives?
No, I don't think we have exhausted. Now, the reason why, number one, why we have not exhausted, first is maybe lack of knowledge. The young people, some of them, they don't have knowledge about the existing platforms where they can express their grievances. Also, another one is ignorance. We feel like now that our leaders, some of them have been termed corrupt, the young people feel like they will not be listened.
The perception that there's none is going to be listened.
The perception is there that even if they go to the table, they will not be listened.
So there's that. Now we have a disquiet, or rather what some other analysts have come out and say that this is a calm before the storm. And this is what they cite, that they say the state took a political solution for a demographic challenge. I don't know how to unpack that. Do you think that this particular critique has put the situation we find ourselves as a country into perspective?
I think, because first, I'll still refer back to the Gen Z. You remember the young people started protesting even before the bill was passed. And the idea was that if we if we raise our voices before the bill is passed, they will listen to us. But now, the politicians felt like maybe they had to take a political stand, which is passing the bill because of their political affiliation, so that at least they'll be on the safe side politically. So I think, in one way or the other, I agree with that statement.
So it's a ticking time bomb. Now, is there a correlation between poverty and lack of peace?
Exactly, there is. First, there are some things that poverty will do to people, especially young people. I'll talk more about young people, because that is the population that I work with most. Majority of these people, they are learned but not employed. So in 2020, I'll give you maybe a background why I'm saying yes. In 2020, we did a survey in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa. And we were trying to ask young people what are the drivers of violence amongst youths in Kenya. And one of the things that came out is that they feel that they are excluded economically, there is no employment, their background. If you look at the political violence that we usually have, most of the young people who are mobilized to go and cause chaos, they are from a humble background. Let's say maybe Kibera, let's say Korogosho, or maybe a slum like Kiambio. You'll see that most of these people come from the side that maybe they don't have money, or they are not well economically.
So they're easily used by those who are pushing this agenda. So then this brings the question then, how do we build capacity among the youth in this context in which that you're having this conversation?
First, building the capacity of young people is addressing the needs that these people are raising. For example, I know the government has done a lot, but we still have a long way to go. We have a youth fund, we have the TVET, those training, whereby young people can access training, and after that they can access employment. But there is more that need to be done. One, we need to make sure that these young people can access these trainings. Secondly, they can access employment, and also they have that skill to cope with pressure that comes with life, because it's still there. You might give them money, but if they're not able to cope with stress, if they're not able to cope with the situation that might come, they'll still go back to the street.
Now, a majority of those who are caught up in the melee during the demonstrations that you have seen in the recent past, and even years past, are the youth. So, and we have already seen a report from the Ministry of Health indicating that there's a need for psychosocial support. You are working with this youth, and give us, just paint a picture for us how the gaps in psychosocial support are affecting victims or other survivors of this particular violence, so to speak, that we have witnessed in the country.
First, the gaps are there, that we can agree. Even though I know we have the government and the non-governmental organization that try to bridge the gap, the reason why that gap is there, first, it's the availability of these services. We don't have the institutions where these people can access psychosocial support, and also the stigma that comes with a person asking for psychosocial support, especially with the society. Many young people feel like, I can manage this, and others feel like, I don't want to go there, maybe they will be branded names, I don't know if I've answered your question.
True, so there are gaps. Then if we lack the institutions, one would argue that it's not lack of institutions, but how to get access to these institutions and the stigma that comes in. But then what role does the family setup then play in this particular setup?
First, I think not all families, but the family setup has failed. Because for us to deal, especially with matters peace, anything, maybe the mental health, it has to start with the lowest unit of the society, and that is the family setup. If at the family level, these young people cannot access information, they cannot access these services, then at the community level, at the county level, at the national level, we have failed. So I think, number one thing, the family should be empowered. And that is something that we are really trying to do. When it comes to issue mental health, when it comes to issue peace building, when it comes to issue preventing violent extremism, we are dealing with the family unit first as we go up to the national level.
The issue of resistance, sometimes religion, education, and culture are always eating into each other's space and mandates. How do we then strike a balance? When should we follow religion and drop culture and education? Or when should we both apply all three? How are we working that dynamics?
First, that problem comes when we have maybe an individual, let me deal with the individual representing a society. They want to lean on one side. We have people that they want to lean on religion, other want to deal with culture. So you find that there is conflict,
yes,
right? So I think to cut the balance, it's much easier if we bring all the parties involved at the table, and then we can discuss. I believe in dialogue. For the last 4 years, we've been bringing together faith leaders, especially matters peace building and violent extremism. We've been bringing faith leaders, we've been bringing young people, parents, to talk about the issues that are affecting us. Mm-hmm. So once everyone is on the table, it's much easier for them to know where they
draw the line.
Yeah.
Then there's the issue of our learning institutions being a platform or a place that can, propagate peace.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
First, my take is the learning institution, they're underutilized when it comes to peace building.
So should we, maybe the question I wanted to ask is that we recently had a review of our education system.
Yeah.
And some of the reports that were given is that we also need to include matters of peace building.
Yeah.
Not to be taught in tertiary, but to start as low as primary level as we go up. What is your take on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yes.
And it's something that can work. Because, the theme for the International Peace Day was cultivating culture of peace. For us to do that, we need to go down there and start teaching our kids, our young people, about peace and how they can actively participate in matters peace. Most of the time, the traditional way of dealing with peace, when I was growing up, I knew that the chief had to call for a baraza. But now those things have changed. We have young people organizing their own initiative in the community to advocate for peace, to talk about peace, and sometimes even they participate in conflict resolution within their community. So if we want to cultivate culture of peace in our society, we need to deal with our kids at all levels. Primary, secondary, and even university.
Now, there's also a correlation between injustice and lack of peace. As we come to a close, do you think that we have put in place the right policies and we are implementing them, to avoid discord? Or is there an issue of recommendations that you'd want to give?
As a country, I think we have the right frameworks.
Yes.
And you remember in the beginning I said, as much as we have these frameworks, the problem is the information. Our justice system is working. But when somebody feels like they've been violated and they need to fight back, that's what we call an eye for an eye. And you remember
poetic justice.
Mahatma Gandhi said, if we deal with an eye for an eye, we might end up having a blind society. So I think the frameworks are there, but now the information.
And that is where you come in. In a few words, just tell us the programs that you're running and who you're targeting, especially the youth.
Okay, so first I'll say about our organization, that is the YWCA Kenya. We've been involved. We've been implementing a peace building project for the last 4 years. And our target, as I had mentioned, the youth, faith leaders, and the parents. And this year we brought in the aspect of young moms, because we've seen young moms being involved in violence in one way or the other, especially in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. And now the YWCA is also part of the County Engagement Forum. County Engagement Forum is a platform whereby different stakeholders meet to review the implementation of county action plans. We have county action plans on PCV, that is prevention and countering violent extremism. When we are implementing these county action plans, our target population is the youth, the community, and even the smallest unit in the society, and that is the family.
And is it working?
I'll give it 50 out of 100. It's working. We still have a long way to go. We still have a long way to go as a country.
Okay. So, as we come to a close, there are those who tend to think that, peace is, when we say we are peaceful, is when we are not shooting at each other, throwing tear gas left, right, and center, that you have peace. But then break it down, what you mean for peace. Define peace?
Peace is the absence of violence. I'll say that. I know there is a conflicting statement that we usually use.
Yes.
First, peace is the absence of violence, but not like 100%. Also, peace is when we are able to deal with conflicts, because conflict will come. When we are able to deal with conflict before it escalates to violence, then we are going to have a peaceful nation. So peace is when there is absence of violence, but also we are able to resolve our conflicts. We are also able to deal with our issues as individuals and as a nation. And also there is a working justice system. Yeah.
And we'll not water down that conversation tonight. We were looking at why we need peace, and just looking at recent events, looking at the just, Gen Z, anti-government Gen Z protests there. And our guest tonight, Benjamin Wakilo, saying that this particular demographic needs to be heard, and not just seen to be heard, but also action taken. So I hope you're not sitting on a time bomb now that we find ourselves in this particular lull. Now that brings a cap to Matters Sunday Express. And just to wrap it up is that to remind you that Manchester City had a game today with Arsenal and they drew 2-2. Someone here says online is that you lose an advantage of 3 points in 10 seconds. It's a wrap on Sunday Express. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a great week ahead.